The first day of IEM Dallas is in the books. We have loved, we have lost, we cried, we cheered, and so far we have already sent some teams packing. Right out the gates, world number 1 and favorite for the tournament Mouz struggled early, having to claw their way back from elimination in their ending best of 3 against Complexity. And even though they survived, it definitely feels like the door is open for other tournament hopefuls such as Vitality, Faze, Spirit, and NAVI. Overall, Dallas is off to a fast start with new additions Dust 2 and the reworked Vertigo really shaking up the meta in a big way. So today we're going to be going over all the best of 1s, our 4 best of 3s, talking about where we're at in the bracket going into tomorrow, and what storylines you need to be following. So you're in your number 1 place for all your daily recaps during the duration of IEM Dallas, so make sure you guys take a second, leave a like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It helps out immensely in the YouTube algorithm, so make sure you do it. While you're down there, consider becoming a channel member for $5 a month to get support me directly when we do here, gain access to exclusive emblems, emotes, regular uploads the night before anyone else gets them, as well as a shout out at the end of every video and in the description. Also, lastly, check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/LionHeartZ1337. I stream Sunday through Friday, 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll be going live early all week to stream some of the last games of the day, as IEM Dallas obviously falls into my time zone here in America, so I'll be able to watch them over on Twitch, talk about the games as they're happening, so make sure you drop on by for that. Without any further ado, let's start breaking down these games. So because it's the first day of the tournament, we start things off by playing an assload of best of 1 series, and best of 1s, as we all know, are the worst format in Counter-Strike. They're the most volatile and also the hardest to break down in any significant detail because it's just one MR13 map of Counter-Strike. So for the sake of pacing and your and my enjoyment, we're going to breeze through all the best of 1s real quickly, just touch on like 1 or 2 key things, give you the score, give you the map, and let you know where the teams are moving so we can fast track straight to the 4 best of 3s that conclude today's events, which are the much more interesting and impactful games played today. And with that, we'll start off with our first game, which was G2 against the Falcons. G2 are playing with a stand-in this tournament. HooXi could not make the trip to Dallas, so standing in is the smoke criminal himself, Boston Major winner, the man, the myth, the Stewart 2K. Now, despite me being a closet Stewie fanboy, we do have to be real here. This is G2 playing without their in-game leader, which means that Nico has to step up to do the shot calling for this tournament, so it's not an ideal setup for G2. Otherwise, they should be in it to contend to win this championship, because anytime G2 are here with Nico and Monte, they are definitely in it to win it. But I just don't think you're going to be able to do that with a stand-in. I think we saw some of the issues throughout today with having to deal with Stewie betting in on short notice into this team like this. But more on that in just a moment. Firstly, we got to talk about how G2 beat Falcons 13-10 to open up on Anubis, and the story of the show is Monte. Monte leads the server with 27 kills, a 1.79 rating, a plus 13 kill differential, and an ADR of 123. He was everywhere on this map, just insane impact with both the op and the rifle, huge in the clutch, huge when he needed to get multi-kills. He was by far the best player in this server during this game. And G2 absolutely needed it because everyone else put up a goose egg. No one else gets above a 1.0 rating, no one else manages to get positive. Nico and Stewie both are very much bottom of the scoreboard with 12 frags apiece and a whole lot of deaths. Stewie definitely struggled early on. He had a few okay rounds, but it's clear the cohesion of G2 are off, especially because Nico has to call and frag at the same time, which is, as we know from Jame, not an easy combination. On the Falcon side, Sunpius continues to impress as a primary operator. Dupree had a great map himself. It's just the rest of this team just doesn't seem good enough. The combination of Snappy, Madden, Magisk, and Dupree behind Sunpius just doesn't seem like it's enough to get by. Magisk is not the player he used to be on Astralis, and he can't put up those great second star numbers that he used to, and that's going to hold this team back. I also got to question who else is going to show up besides Sunpius, because you're relying on Dupree. Dupree is older than dirt on this team, and he really should be on the way out. It just seems like the remnants of Astralis plus Sunpius and a couple of extra names is not going to be enough to do it on the big stage. Next up, we had Vitality versus Monte on Nuke, and credit to Monte for pushing Vitality to an overtime here. This was a close game, a surprisingly close game, but Vitality, as per usual, were kind of slow starter in this tournament. It took a while for him to get going in this map, but when they did, oh my god, did ZywOo wake up. ZywOo ends with 26 kills, 20 deaths, a 1.49 rating. Not his insane godly numbers we saw during the beginning of EPL, but definitely good enough to get it done, especially with Spinks and Apex also showing up in a big way, especially in the clutch. Now, once again, full credit to Monte because their T-side here looked fantastic. They made Vitality look plain silly. That 9-3 lead should have been enough for them to win, but this is one of those weird cases where Nuke just ended up being a T-side affair here because we swap to the second half. Vitality wins the pistol round. They run off 7 straight off the back of it. Monte managed to get 2 clutch gun rounds to get it to 11, but just some great clutching late in the game by ZywOo kept Vitality in it enough to get there to match point, at which point Monte forced overtime, and in the overtime they just simply ran out of gas, Vitality run them over, and then they move on to the upper bracket. And in our next match, rolling in on the bed of an F-150, American flags, waving, fireworks, spraying, beer chugging, North American shootout between Team Liquid and Complexity. And in the battle for North American dominance, I expected Complexity to be the much better overall team with how shaky Team Liquid have been, but Team Liquid rock up. We go to Dust 2, the classic pub map, and Liquid, they do their day job. NAVI and Twist absolutely dominate, and they take the 13-6 victory. Complexity looks slow to start. Elige not able to get comfortable and find those great picks and those openings that he needed to, and nobody else was up to the game to match him except for JT in terms of fragging. Halzerk and Grim had an absolutely dreadful affair, and again, Liquid, they just looked sharp. Nav and Twist were just so dominant that it didn't even matter that Katie went totally missing with the op. Liquid just ran them over. I mean, just the highlights here from Nav and Twist were pretty crazy. And so yet again, here we are, another tournament where Liquid are off to a great start. Let's see how they maintain. Complexity fall to the lower bracket. Following that, we had a surprise upset of the day in Mouz versus 9Z. 9Z is a team I was not familiar with at all going into this tournament. They are a South American team, and they walk up and they slap Mouz, #1 team in the world, Mouz, in the mouth on Nuke, which is a great Mouse map, by the way. 13-9, a comfortable win from the 9Z guys, and frankly, it was off the back of some really great executions by their lead fraggers, Buddha and Max. Again, this is a team I'm not very familiar with. I'm not really sure how their structure normally goes. These are their 2-star players, but they took map control really well on the T side. They did what they had to do, and their CT side was really good. I mean, 3 straight defuses to open the game against Mouz. Mouz are so good in their post-plant situations, so to be able to take those rounds so comfortably, control the econ, maintain the CT lead, and then to absorb the fact that T-side nuke can be so volatile, especially when Mouz play their CT side so strongly, and just comfortably get the full buy rounds where you can. They showed a lot of poise down the stretch, and they didn't crumble in the face of a potential Mouz comeback, and so they get to go to the upper bracket, while Mouz had to go down and potentially face elimination. Not much to be said on the Mouse side here. I mean, Xerxin and Brolin still got what they needed to. It just came down to them not being able to close out rounds. Surprisingly not clutch, despite how usually good they are at finishing rounds. Our next matchup saw NAVI take on Big on Ancient. Big currently in flux after having kicked a long-time in-game leader turned coach, one of the longest tenured members of their organization, and God B. So this team seems like it's on the way towards being blown up or changed in a significant way now that God B has stepped away. And despite a really great individual performance from JDC with 24 kills and a 1.79 rating, when they got to the T side of Ancient, this team looked like it had no strat book. The strats were bad, the executes were not really great or unique or really well structured, and NAVI just boxed them out completely. Great map control towards the caves. They allowed no room for Big to operate and shut down their econ over and over, and that's what led to a 7-3 half and an eventual win for NAVI. And speaking of shutouts on Ancient, we have Faze versus M80. Not much to be said here. 13-6 affair, very quick, very clean, very clinical by the Faze guys. M80, they put up a decent fight, some good rounds on the CT side, but once again, this is a young, newer team with a young in-game leader against Kerrigan, one of the most tenured in-game leaders of all time, and that means Kerrigan's going to study those demos, he's going to see what you got going, he's going to work around you and make sure your T side has no room to breathe. Meanwhile, Rops, Rain, Frozen, Brokey, they're just going to take turns picking at you on the margins, and that's going to be the difference, and that's why FaZe still maintain themselves as one of the best teams in the world. A great game from Rops, by the way. Nice to see him bounce back on a personal level. He's definitely struggled the last few appearances for FaZe. And now for by far the most dominant best of one showing of the day, we had Team Spirit offering a unique and interesting proposition to FlyQuest by stomping them 13-1 on Ancient. Nothing to be said here. DONK was mystical, magical, unstoppable, ephemeral, untouchable, unbelievable, insane, unreal, great, amazing. Do I need to say anything else? Let's move on. And for our last best of one and our 4th straight Ancient match of the day, we have VersePro against Heroic. VersePro handed Heroic an ass whipping. 13-4, not a chance in hell. Heroic could literally do nothing, it didn't matter. VersePro owned them on the CT side, and once they got to the T side, they just ran them over and out the server. The big thing to note here for VersePro is this is the first time that Electronic has looked comfortable in the system next to Flit next to Fame, and they look so much better because of it. Electronic has to perform for this team to have a chance. James didn't really have time to get anything going, but he wasn't awful either. Ancient's not really an opping map, so it makes sense that he's going to take a backseat and let his players work. But this was a good way to start the tournament for First Pro. They take some positive momentum into tomorrow, so the way they can relax and get ready for their first best of 3. On the heroic side, I mean, what are you going to do here? You just got ran over. The strats didn't work on the T side, and by the time we got to the CT side, there was no more time to make anything work. Nerds, Tessus, Nikadas, they tried their best, but there was just nothing doing against First Pro in this game. And with that, we're going to take a look at our first best of 3 of the day. This was the first upper semifinals in Group A. The winner advances to the upper bracket final. The loser goes down to the lower semifinals. So this was not an elimination game, but this is very important for seeding into the playoffs, as if you win the upper bracket final, you go straight to the semifinals in the playoffs and get to skip a day. So with a lot on the line, we had G2 against Vitality, and these teams are usually game for a classic set between each other, but with G2 having to work with a stand-in, it's very clear they weren't going to be able to compete against Vitality on this day, and that reflects. We open up with our first map on Dust 2. It's a 13-6 affair. G2 do not look remotely competitive outside of Monte. It is the Monte show and nothing else. Stewie 2K, more like Stewie 2 kills, because that's all he got on this map. Nico, not much better with 10 kills and a wretched .77 rating, and there's just nothing they can do. The dominance from Vitality here with Flames and Zywoo leading the charge was simply too much. A better strat book, a better coordinated team, obviously not having to play with a stand-in and having to make one of your star players be the in-game leader, which is not ideal. So this was a simple run over by Vitality. The French love Dust 2, this shouldn't surprise anybody. And then we move to Anubis, and same story, they just get run over and right out the server. G2, they tried their best. Nigo had his best performance of the tournament so far, but even then it came at the expense of Monte having a very normal outing, Stewie continuing to struggle alongside Hunter, and even though they got a bad game from Zywoo had only 11 kills, 11 deaths, perfectly even, not much impact on the op. They got shut down by Spinks, who was all over this map. He was absolutely dominant for them when they needed it, and that kept Vitality in for the 2-0 to advance to the upper semifinals. G2, they dropped down. They're still in it. They still got one more best of 3 to stay in it. And, you know, we'll see what happens. Maybe Stewie 2K beds in overnight and this is a different look team tomorrow. Who knows? After that, we had our first elimination game of the tournament. That's right. IEM Dallas is a brutal format. Lose one best of 1, lose one best of 3, and you're going home. We're playing for pink slips. And it's Falcons versus Monte. We get a map 1 on Dust 2. We get a map 2 on Nuke. And that's all we need because Falcons take the 2 over Monte pretty soundly. And that's not surprising. I think Falcons are by far the better team. On paper, they're better, and I think in the server that shows. Leading the way here for the series, you had Madden and Sampayas, who just kind of looked untouchable. And when Stiko is your highest rated player on Monte, that's just not going to be enough, because Stiko traditionally is not a carry. Getting into the specifics real quickly, Monte put up their best fight on Dust 2, it was 13-10, and the story of Dust 2 here, and it seems to be elsewhere in the tournament right now, is that Dust 2 can definitely skew surprisingly CT-sided, which is unusual, as the last time Dust 2 was in the meta, it was definitely a T-dominant map, but once the CTs can make their economy, get the double op going, it can be very hard to break into these bomb sites, and I think that's what we saw play out here. Falcons have a dominant 9-3 half, but then we swap sides, even though Falcons win their T-side pistol round, Monte get control of the second round force buy with a clutch defuse, they run off 5 straight, and even when they absorb a loss, they get 2 more clutch post-plant wins to follow that up, and it's a close game going in after that. There was only some timely fragging in those last 2 rounds by Falcons that kept them in it to force the victory, but this could have easily gone to overtime, and in an overtime, I don't know, kind of feels like a toss-up. Both these teams were throwing out some really interesting stuff here, and leading the way from Monte was a combination of timely fragging from Haji, Stiko, and Demka that really kept him in it, and usually I would expect Waro 2K to do a little bit more here, but he struggled on this first map. Meanwhile, once again, Sunpius, the main opper, best player in the server for me, even though Madden had a few more kills, his opping impact was huge for Falcons and helped them get that victory. We swap over to Nuke, and this was a classic rollback to year's performance from Dupree. Dupree is a classic Nuke player as well. This was a 13-4 stomp out by the Falcons, utterly dominant on the T side, taking another 9-3 half to open things up. They win the pistol on the CT side, and at that point, there's nothing left in the tank for Monte. They capitulate the next 3 or 4 rounds, and they're going home. Meanwhile, the Falcons hang on. They get one more chance to make it to the playoffs, and we will see that play out, I believe, Tuesday or Wednesday. Let's move on. Friends, family, silvers and global elites alike, may we join hands together in this moment for a moment of silence for our fallen American heroes this day, as Complexity fell in a brave showing against the world number ones, the European invaders in Mouz. May we hope that they come back to shine brightly like the polished head of the eagle that is the leader of this team, LionHeartZ. Praise be his name. But in all seriousness, I'm going to come out and say it. We're going to get to it in the specifics when we get to it. Complexity was 100% in position to win this series, knock out Mouz 2-0, and eliminate them from the tournament. We are talking a 1-round difference between Mouz staying in the tournament and going home, and that's the most unfortunate way to lose a game because we open up on Vertigo. New look Vertigo, and we get a back and forth banger. Both these teams so excellent on this map and have played so many classic games against each other already on it, and we get another one to the list. It's a double overtime banger. Complexity get the win 19-16, and it's a team effort top to bottom. This new look Vertigo is interesting. I think A side has somehow gotten more chaotic, but definitely more entertaining to watch. And we open up, they get 6 straight rounds on the T side Complexity. Mouz fire back 5 straight to keep the half close. We then open up onto the T side from Mouz, and it's a back and forth affair all the way to overtime. And just we saw great performances by the entire team of Complexity here. LionHeartZ leads the way with 32 kills, but you look at the scoreboard and everybody is involved. Nobody has below 24 kills. Everybody is positive. LionHeartZ was getting great entries. Grim had great entries right behind him and great clutches. JT and Floppy fragging out of their minds for players that are usually a bit more quiet. And that was the difference to absorb just the big 30 kill haymakers from Torzy and Brolin, because the overall group ability of Complexity was what won the day here. Mouz typically not a top heavy team. They're going to spread the frags evenly amongst each other, but here it was a carry performance from Torzy and Brolin, and that meant that if they died early, that left the window open for Complexity to close out some of these close rounds. And once again, we get into the overtime, and it's a grinder the whole way through, but Complexity clutch up in second OT to take the early series lead 1-0, and we move to Ancient. And keep in mind, the last time we played Ancient, Mouz versus Complexity, they completely stomped them. So color me surprised here when we open it up and things aren't looking good. It was an 8-4 T half for Mouz. So we think for sure we're going to map 3, right? We're going to swap sides, and Mouz's CT side is so consistent, so good that it's not going to matter. And then to add on to that, they win the pistol plus the first 3. So we're already looking at an 11-4 comeback that Complexity need to complete here. And then all of a sudden, Complexity leans forward. They lock it the fuck in, and they run off 6 straight dominant rounds, controlling the economy, taking space with LionHeartZ, that tip of the spear, one of the best pure entries in CS2, while showing so much star power to get the multi-kills on top of it. This combination of star player entry that's becoming this new role that him and DONK are pioneering as we speak. And then, in the most heartbreaking round of this Complexity roster's career, they are facing an echoing Mouz, trying to get to that 11-11 tie game. LionHeartZ, with 2 or 3 of the worst timed missed shots of his entire career with the op, allow Mouz to swing a huge 2 frag opener on B ramp. Suddenly it's a 3v5, and Complexity need to clutch up to get this round back against echoing players. And what it boils down to is LionHeartZ manages to find the picks he needs, but he finds himself in a 1v2 for the ace clutch victory with the bomb down on B. He takes the swing, gets the first kill, bomb timer's ticking down, he takes the reswing and is unable to get the final kill, and in heartbreaking fashion, Mouz get the defuse with very little time left on the clock. Had LionHeartZ held his usually steeled nerve just a little bit longer or swung the other way around the box, we're talking 11-11. Mouz, econ, and heartbroken after an ace clutch, and I believe right there the game is over, because the very next round, Mouz buy up, LionHeartZ dominates his way into the A side again, and Complexity takes the comebacker, 12-11, looking to force overtime. And then I think the folly of this team showed its head. We go to the final round to force overtime, and despite really no good intel, just a little bit of an early showing towards B, Complexity decided to early commit to a full A take, 3-man in, running right into the loving embrace of Mouz, who mow them down and force map 3. And I got to watch map 3 and stream it on my Twitch channel and watch it live with you guys and my friends Justin and Furley. And what can only be described as the worst map of Counter-Strike I have seen in CS2's history was played. Complexity came out looking like a defeated team. They played like a defeated team, and it showed. Their CT side on nuke was dreadful. One of the worst CT side nukes I have ever seen live. No one was committing to any team play. No one was clearing corners, going for trades, trying to stop the T-side momentum from Mouz. You had Elise trying to go for hero play seemingly every round, and when he couldn't make his hero play work, someone else tried to make it work. And so many horrific 1vx situations that could have gone Complexity's way didn't. And as they lost clutch after clutch after clutch, you could see it in their eyes. They were checked out, ready to go home, and utterly defeated after riding so high on the first 2 maps. It was a complete capitulating retreat by Complexity all the way into elimination. Mouz survived, they advanced, they had to win one more best of 3 to advance to the playoffs. Complexity are going home despite this being the Dallas tournament on home soil not far from their compound. And frankly, it was an embarrassing way to go out because they were in it, they had a very real chance of winning it, and the same Complexity that showed up at the beginning of the series did not show up to play the final game of it. And at this point, I think we have to call it what it is. Complexity need to look for a change, something we'll talk about maybe in a separate video. And to round out today's coverage, we had a 9Z take on Liquid in a best of 3 to see who's going to the upper bracket finals to face Vitality and who was going to drop down to play the Falcons to stay in the tournament. And to say this was a shocking outcome is an understatement. 9Z, a team who is not ranked anywhere in the HLTV top 20, a tier 2 team from South America, aka a non-Brazilian team, has just shocked the world on American soil and beat Liquid 2-1 in a best of 3 set. And they played Liquid to the absolute wire in every single game. Opening up on Nuke, we had a 13-6 overtime affair. And Liquid, I'm honestly not that shocked this happened. I don't know why this iteration of Liquid with Cadian has had very suspect T-side nukes, and we saw that play out. Even though they opened up with a 9-3 CT side half, you would think Liquid fully in control against a very inferior opponent on paper. Okay, you got swapped to the T side, you only need 4 rounds to end the game, and what happens? 9Z, they take the pistol, they win the first 4, get some economy going, they manage to sponge some losses, taking on some hits from Team Liquid, but they calmly close out the final 4 rounds of regulation and force overtime while denying Liquid space all over the map. And leading the way for this 9Z squad, and please bear with me, I'm sure I'm going to pronounce this wrong, it was DGT and Huasopik. I'm going to go with Huasopik for the rest of this. I'm sure that's probably wrong, but that's what I'm going to go with, so bear with me. They both had monster server-leading 29 and 24 kill performances, really just showing great play around each other all over the map. And on the other side of things from Liquid, a very quiet game from everybody. Even though they get quite a dense amount of frags because the game went on into overtime, nobody has a super high rating. The entry didn't feel very good. Twist didn't feel like he could take space in the same way he normally does. Cadian kind of low impact on the op, and NAVI struggled to produce those big rounds we expect from him on the T side. And once we got towards the end of the game here and into overtime, 9Z just felt in control. They calmly run 2 of 3 of their CT rounds on the overtime half. They switch to T side, they win their first 2 and close it out comfortably 16-13 and take a 1-0 series lead. And then we go over to Anubis, a map that this Team Liquid squad have been very good on lately, and it shows here a 13-9 win for them. Leading the way is Mr. NAVI with 19 kills, 1.39 rating, just doing a little bit of everything everywhere on the map, dominant anchoring on the CT side, opening up on the bomb sides on the T side. And again, even though 9Z, they come out, they struggle on their T half, they switch to CT, they win their pistol plus the first 4, generate some early CT momentum in Econ. Liquid got their economy right, they win 3 straight to break the economy of 9Z, and at that point, they've got their map point. They just need to get one more win. Anubis, such a traditionally T-sided map that just feels inevitable, and so they comfortably get that win to tie the series 1-1, and we get to have ourselves a fun Dust 2 decider where, despite all odds, 9Z take the win and the series in a 13-11 shocker on a map that Team Liquid should be very strong on. Once again for 9Z, as Martinza and Huasopik leading the way. Martinza leads the way with 23 kills, a 1.7 rating, going toe-to-toe with Yakindar, who had a spectacular CT site performance, and up with 25 total kills and a 1.65 rating himself. But the story here for Team Liquid, I think, was that this was just not a good map from Twist, who traditionally is actually a very good Dust 2 player, at least he used to be last time it was in the pool, and Cadian went totally missing. 6 kills, 14 deaths. This is an op-dependent map, and if your opper is not going to perform, you're really going to struggle, and that's what made the T side look so very flat from Team Liquid here, and allowed 9Z to just maintain their control. They comfortably win the first half, they switch over, they bear a pistol win from Liquid, but once they get their T side economy going, they run off 5 straight, they get their match point, and Liquid, they start to manufacture a comeback. They bring it back real close, but just that volatility of Counter-Strike, it only takes one round, and when you're trying to force an overtime, you just leave too many chances on the board, and it only took one good round after a 4-win stretch for 9Z to take it, win the series, and advance. Liquid, they're still in it, but losing to this team is shocking. That's a bad look for them. We don't know if this 9Z team are legit. We'll see how they do against Vitality tomorrow, but this is a huge win for them in terms of their presence on the world stage. Alright, and despite my best efforts, that was still 26 minutes of Counter-Strike coverage. Thankfully, best ones are done. We can focus on best 3s from here on out. Day 2 should be starting by the time you're seeing this video, so make sure you watch this and go check out the stream. We'll be back tomorrow morning with another recap following the Day 2 shenanigans. I would like to release these the same day. The problem is that these games are ending right around 8 o'clock my time here in California, which means that after I stream, because I still stream every day, twitch.tv/LionHeartZ137, come check me out, I am not really getting these videos done until quite late into the night. At that point, algorithmically, it's better just to release them early in the morning. So bear with me, guys. I'll try and figure out kind of the best schedule for these to release during the week. But keep an eye out. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Shout out to my channel members, Furley, Jesse, and Justin, and our brand new member, Bubblesj. Thank you for joining, Bubbles. Welcome. Enjoy your stay here with us on the channel. If you guys want to join just like Bubbles, look at the link in the description down below. Other than that, I'll see you guys soon with another recap. Peace.